So today we begin a new chapter, chapter 14, Lord Chaitanya's childhood pastimes. So I read the summary, introduction by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has given a summary of this chapter in his Amrita Pravaha Bhasya. Quote, in this 14th chapter of the Caitanya Caritamrita, there is a description of how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu enjoyed his childhood pastimes, crawling, crying and eating dirt, giving intelligence to his mother, favoring a Brahmana guest, riding on the shoulders of two thieves, and misleading them to his own house, and on the plea of being diseased, taking prasad in the house of Hiranya and Jagadisha on the Ekadasi day. The chapter further describes how he displayed himself as a naughty boy, how, when his mother fainted, he brought a coconut to her on his head, how he joked with girls of the same age on the banks of the Ganges, how he accepted worshipful paraphernalia of Srimati Lakshmi Devi, and how he sat down in a garbage pit wherefrom he instructed transcendental knowledge, how he left the pit on the order of his mother, and how he dealt with his father with full affection. Text 1. Caitanya smrite yasmin duskaram sukaram havet vishmrite viparitam syat Shri Chaitanyam namamitam Caitanya smrite yasmin Dushkaram sukaram bhavet Vishmite viparitam syat Shri Chaitanyam namamitam Caitanya smrite yasmin Dushkaram sukaram bhavet Vishmite viparitam syat Shri Chaitanyam namamitam Caitanya somehow or other smrite by remembering yasmin whom dushkaram difficult things sukaram easy bhavet become vishmite by forgetting him viparitam just the opposite syat become Shri Chaitanyam Lord Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu namami I offer my respectful obeisances tam unto him. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Things that are very difficult to do become easy to execute if somehow or other one somehow or other simply remembers Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But if one does not remember him, even easy things become very difficult. To this Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I offer my respectful obeisances. Please repeat. Things that are very difficult to do become easy to execute if one somehow or other simply remembers Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But if one does not remember him, even easy things become very difficult. To this Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, I offer my respectful obeisances. Report. In his book, Caitanya Chandramrita, Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati says, quote, "One who receives a little favor from the Lord becomes so exalted that he does not even care for liberation, which is sought after by many great scholars and philosophers. Similarly, a devotee of Lord Caitanya considers residence in the heavenly planets a will-o'-the-wisp. He surpasses the perfection of mystic yoga power because for him the senses are like snakes with broken fangs. A snake is very fearful and dangerous animal because of his poisonous fangs. But if these fangs are broken, the appearance of a snake is no cause for fear. The yoga principles are meant to control the senses, but there is no scope for the senses of one engaged in the service of the Lord to be dangerous like snakes. These are the gifts of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. The Hari Bhakti Vilas confirms that difficult things become easy to understand if one remembers Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, and easy things become very difficult to understand if one forgets him. We actually see that even those who are very great scientists in the eyes of the general public cannot understand the very simple idea that life comes from life, because they do not have the mercy of Caitanya Mahaprabhu. They defend the false understanding that life comes from matter, although they cannot prove this is a fact. Modern civilization, therefore, progressing on the basis of this false scientific theory, is simply creating problems to be solved by the so-called scientists. The author of Caitanya Caritamrita takes shelter of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu to describe the pastimes of his appearance as a child, because one cannot write such transcendental literature by mental speculation. One who writes about the Supreme Personality of Godhead must be especially favored by the Lord. Simply by academic qualifications, it is not possible to write such literature. I'll read the verse again. Things that are very difficult to do become easy to execute if one somehow or other simply remembers Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu. But if one does not remember him, even easy things become very difficult. To this Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, I offer my respectful obeisances. So, Lord Krishna, he also states in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, verse 15, I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge and forgetfulness. And Srila Prabhupada explains, gives a very nice purport. He often quotes this verse, by the way, in different purports in the Bhagavatam and the Caitanya Caritamrita, that Krishna actually gives the intelligence to the conditioned souls, depending on their desire, whether they want to forget him or remember him. So Krishna is in everyone's heart. He's seated in everyone's heart, and he knows the desires of the living entities. If we want to forget him, he'll give us the intelligence. He can make a grand arrangement for us, and we can see our modern civilization is based on complete forgetfulness. Everything is based on forgetfulness. Of Krishna, of course. In the name of knowledge, therefore created an illusion based on so-called scientific understanding, so-called scientific research. But ultimately the intelligence is taken away by Maya, illusions. And to the point that they cannot even understand that life comes from life. Rather come to the opposite conclusion, that life comes from chemicals and biological components. But actually there's no such thing. Life can only come from life. Life is not based on chemical composition. So the symptom of life, symptom of a spiritual, transcendental jiva atman, a transcendental soul, is the consciousness, life force. So we exhibit our human journey here in this material world. Unfortunately, scientists cannot understand this very basic formula. Therefore, there's a pinprick in the equation of modern civilization. They miss the point. If they cannot understand this, then just leads to more forgetfulness of the supreme divinity and his supreme will. And this is a very beautiful introduction to this chapter. And this is also a lesson to us as sadhakas to cultivate an understanding that our life is about remembering Krishna always, not just sometimes. Trying to arrange our life, whatever, that we always remember the lotus feet of Caitanya Mahaprabhu, his beautiful pastimes. And this is also a reason Caitanya Mahaprabhu, and not to speak of Krishna himself, exhibits his beautiful pastimes, childhood pastimes in Vrajadam, Vrajabhumidam. So devotees can meditate, contemplate on these beautiful pastimes. We always feel the sweetness and love and connection. And not to speak of aspiring to be part of this beautiful lila, beautiful pastimes, and realize our original relationship with the Supreme. So this is the true objective of a devotee, to actually come to that understanding and enter that pastimes, enter to the divine confidential pastimes of the Lord. We are loving devotees of Krishna, we just forgotten our true position. Therefore, Caitanya Mahaprabhu and Kaviraj Goswami are reminding us that if you remember him, if you remember Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna, then even difficult things, what we actually think very difficult, can become very easy. This is a miraculous thing. Not just individually, but collectively also. On the other hand, as the verse says, if we forget Krishna, we don't make an effort to remember him, we just go along with the tsunami of illusions in the material world, just tossed around, then even easy things can become the most difficult. And we can actually understand even in our lives. Like if we actually kind of reflect that every time when we are really in illusion or do not care to remind ourselves by proper sadhana practice described by the acharyas, the Sri Parampara system, then even as devotees we can fall into illusions. At least our consciousness can drop. Therefore, devotee, as sadhaka, should be vigilant. We have to have determination to keep up not only the rules and regulations, but have quality contemplation, quality meditation, quality hearing and chanting, quality service, a devotee, a sadhaka, is endeavoring to improve his services, improve his consciousness and his realizations. And at some point, we may get some mercy. The ultimate mercy. We can maybe enter the pastimes of Krishna and Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Then actually we relish these pastimes. Who Caitanya Mahaprabhu was in his beautiful childhood pastimes, the great personalities, Vrindavan Das Thakur, and many, many other great Gaudiya Vaishnavas in our line. They have very beautiful description of his pastimes, childhood pastimes. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he touches many of these stories, but he gives a very deep Siddhanta philosophy with it also. Because after all, the Lord plays like an ordinary child, but he's not an ordinary child. He's got his own divine pastimes, experience. At the same time, he's teaching us who he is and what he can do. It's inconceivable to us. So he's giving us some examples about his extraordinary activities. Even when Krishna himself 5,000 years ago exhibited his beautiful Adi-lila, childhood pastimes, very sweet. And the residents of Rajabhumi, they so much loved Krishna. The same with Mother Sachi, Jagannath Mishra, and all the devotees around Mahaprabhu, Nimai. He was known as Nimai. They loved him so much. They loved him so much. They loved Krishna in that beautiful, kind of manifestation as a child. So it's a very parental love. Especially in the early stages, Caitanya Mahaprabhu received the same love as Krishna received from Vrajabhumi. So we can see Caitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. So he's directly Krishna. He's not an avatar, he's an avatari. And of course he has his mood, and an advanced devotee can understand his mood. Sometimes he acts like a great teacher, a sannyasi. Sometimes he acts like the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sometimes acts as a child. Sometimes he manifests his avatars, Narasingha, Chaturbhuj, sometimes Lord Ramachandra, Mahaprabhu, Krishna with the flute, 6-armed form, Chatur. So, Sadbhuj. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can do anything if we just contemplate on these beautiful pastimes, not just as an esoteric description of his pastimes, but actually feel these emotions. But again, how we can feel these emotions? Only by service, seva mukhe. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj wrote an essay, and even Srila Prabhupada often quote sections of it, about his spiritual master, that his spiritual master, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, he could not even sign his name. He was not a scholar for the sake of academic learning of the Shastras. But when he spoke on the Siddhanta, a philosophy of Krishna consciousness, he spoke so eloquently. Even Sanskrit, Devanagari terms came to his mouth, to his lip. Everything came out of him. So the lesson was that ultimately realizations, not to speak of conclusive realizations, when we come to understand things properly, it comes from humble service attitude. And our theoretical knowledge of the scripture guiding us, so we don't misunderstand things, we get the right conclusion that Krishna is the ultimate goal of human life. attaining the lotus feet of Krishna, developing our pure devotion is the ultimate goal of this human form of life. So it may be difficult to realize this in early stages, but if you are patient and practice nicely, given by our acharyas, our spiritual masters, then gradually we come to an understanding that yes, this is my original constitutional position. And when we come to that understanding that yes, I've got an eternal relationship with Krishna, so how can I develop that? This is when we get guidance from Shiksha, Diksha, spiritual teachers. They're guiding us in refining that understanding, that realization, actually have a very beautiful, and we may not realize our Nitya Swarupa right at this stage. We would probably wouldn't understand it anyway. It would be too difficult to understand who. What we have to understand is our duty and our sense of what Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, our constitutional position, and act on it. In other words, dutiful. We surrender into the process, we surrender into the spiritual master, we're getting sufficient and competent guidance from him. And gradually we not only understand things, but we feel these, we feel inspiration. We just want to do the best for the happiness of Krishna, to please him. And Caitanya Mahaprabhu, extraordinary mission. Everything about Caitanya Mahaprabhu, extraordinary. The most kind, the most merciful to us, a great compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. So he's guiding us, giving us a chance, opportunity to develop ourselves. So it's a great mission, Caitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. So, as this verse, if you remember Caitanya Mahaprabhu, all our so-called material difficulties will be very minimized compared otherwise. Like if you just experiencing your karmic destiny, karmic journey, that's very difficult because we don't know. When we come to Krishna, Krishna protects you, minimizes any. It can take the obstacles away. As long as we are sincere, as long as we apply it properly, Krishna removes the obstacles to make it clear, the path clear for us. But we have to apply it properly, sincerely. Srila Prabhupada gave us a process, very simple process, formula. Chanting 16 rounds, attending the morning program, hearing the classes, if possible attend the evening program also, and engage in some type of services, some kind of services. So our life is filled with remembrance of Krishna. We always remember Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Otherwise, we may fall into the illusions, forgetfulness. And forgetfulness brings difficulties. We weren't able to control our minds and our senses. Srila Prabhupada says in the purport that uncontrolled senses can become like a poisonous snake with fangs, poisonous fangs. And on the other hand, controlled mind, controlled senses become harmless. They weren't able to, mind rather becomes a best friend. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita also that uncontrolled mind can be the worst enemy. A controlled mind, a tamed mind, can be the best friend also. So if you remember Krishna, these beautiful pastimes, especially childhood pastimes, very easy to remember. These beautiful pastimes, the stories and the moral of the story, the lesson of the story, that we can get some realization and inspiration. Devotional service needs inspiration, and that comes from scripture, hearing, chanting the holy names of Krishna, And then we actually feel not only the determination but the inspiration. We get that taste, we get that ruchi, which really leads us to higher realms of attachment to Krishna, steadiness. And you take it further up. If you're patient enough, applying it, you feel some loving emotions. Therefore, the daily worship actually helps us to experience that gradually. Although in the beginning we all start in a mechanical way, learn the rules and regulations, and apply it, and then we perform our duties. Then as we become attached to the Lordships and to His holy names and His pastimes, we remember Him. This is when spiritual life becomes dynamic. We feel that love. Just like I said earlier, the ultimate purpose is really to develop love for Krishna. And that we have to earn that position with patience and practice. So when we have that love for Krishna, then we understand things. By His grace, by His mercy. So we always go by the mercy of Guru and Gauranga Mahaprabhu. By their mercy we can remember Him. And in the material world you can see, like I said earlier, that everything is based on forgetfulness of Krishna, sadly. Because that the living entities are wandering in the material world, seeking and searching for happiness in various forms. But without actual knowledge, they're harming themselves, just like the poisonous fangs of the snake, and harming others also, unfortunately. So you can see this whole material world is so far from Krishna consciousness that cannot be any further. A devotee, a sincere devotee, really praise, more than just desires, praise. Dear Shri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, dear Srila Prabhupada and our spiritual masters, please allow me to be an instrument in this beautiful mission of Mahaprabhu, not just for my own benefit, but for the benefit of others. Some form, some service, regardless of the external service. Just do it for Mahaprabhu's mission. Because we're serving that noble mission of Srila Prabhupada. We are sharing the happiness of Krishna consciousness. We're sharing our enthusiasm. We inspire others. So that way, we also come up. This is when the real blessings come. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will personally bless us. We're very fortunate that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does not come in every Kali Yuga. So we happen to take birth in this Kali Yuga, although it's not an auspicious birth, but we are also very fortunate if we receive that seed of devotion, that mercy from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then we come under his shelter and we spread Krishna consciousness for the benefit of all living entities, not just for human society, all living entities. Because when we spread in Krishna consciousness, everyone will get the benefit. And we need the mercy of the higher Vaishnavas because we may not have the spiritual strength. We may have the desire, but we still need the blessings. We still need the mercy. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada designed a very beautiful process for us based on Sangha, association of devotees. Together, much easier than by yourself. Because I know many devotees who are sincere, they live outside and difficult for them. They admit, very difficult to do anything seriously. Together much easier. Because even if you have some difficulties or weaknesses, together much better. Kirtans, study, classes, everything going on, Harinams together, book distribution together. So we hang on to the devotees. We are depending on the assembly of the devotees. Therefore, we should be very grateful to all the Vaishnavas with respect and love. Our brothers and sisters here, we're getting strength from them because we practice together. We aspire to become Krishna conscious. So we need that like-minded association. Otherwise it's very difficult or very slow. So it is not impossible, but but better. Srila Prabhupada encouraged us to be together, obviously. Association of devotees are very important. So we can have a strength. So when we preach Krishna consciousness, there's an impact. There's an impact on the conditioned souls. They are attracted to us. They're attracted, they get drawn in. They feel something with us. There's some purity, there's some sincerity. And then we speak about Krishna, a few kind words, invite them to the farm. And this is how we get the attention of Mahaprabhu. And otherwise, this whole world just gliding more and more into ignorance, forgetfulness. The word ignorance actually comes from to ignore, to denial. So it's the living entities actually want to be in denial. They don't want to accept a transcendental reality beyond this three-dimensional material reality. It's difficult for them to understand, but they also reject. And also accepting God consciousness means they're liable also. They realize, I'm responsible for my actions. So they don't like to accept an authority. It's a disease of, especially in the Western world, the modern world, to deny and reject authority, some level. No one likes to accept authority. But the authority, if it's presented in a pure form, through Sri Parampara, not to speak of Sri Krishna himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then that authority is essential. We have to accept that authority, not just for our own benefit, but for everyone's benefit. So more we increase Krishna consciousness, and more we spread Krishna consciousness, it will be better for us and better for the whole world also. Srila Prabhupada gave very nice lectures on the disappearance or appearance of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, his spiritual master. And he always remembered how much he encouraged him to spread Krishna consciousness, print books. It was even more important than anything else, in one sense, because we really, really need to spread the mercy, the compassionate spirit of Mahaprabhu. This is very, very important. And as we advance in spiritual life, we want to help more and more. We want to distribute. And even just one person a day, some or other, tell him about Krishna. When Caitanya Mahaprabhu used to wander in Navadvip Dham, and not to speak of his Padayatra all around India, South India, whomever he met told him about Krishna. Chant the holy names of Krishna. Hari Bolo. Chant the holy names of Krishna. And fortunate souls, they responded. Wow. He went down to Tirumala, Srirangam, all these beautiful places, Udupi, and he made all the scholars, especially the Vaishnava scholars, they responded to him. Tattvavadis in Udupi, they were philosophers, Vaishnava philosophers, but they were more conservative. So Caitanya Mahaprabhu encouraged them to chant the holy names, which is the most powerful process in this age, Yuga Dharma, chanting of the holy names of Krishna. And so the best way to remember Krishna and the easiest way to remember is chant his holy names and remember his beautiful pastimes. Childhood pastimes are very easy to remember, beautiful interactions. So there's, and also, of course, great teachers explain the Siddhanta, the philosophy, and we meditate on this and trying to perfect our lives gradually. So when we come to the study of Sri Caitanya Caritamrita by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, we come to a level of utmost sincerity. When we're actually ready to study, of course we read, but when we're actually ready to comprehend or understand things properly, it's like a postgraduate study. So we start with the Gita, Bhagavad Gita, the fundamentals, Krishna's position, our relationship with him, the three modes of material nature. So we comprehend these basics, and then we go on higher study, Srimad Bhagavatam. That's a very systematic and scientific process, gradually make us understand things. Then we come to Caitanya Caritamrita. It's like a postgraduate study. And we really, at least in theory, we have an access to those pastimes, beautiful, sweet pastimes. And this question of purification and mercy and blessings, we can gradually, like I said earlier, enter these pastimes, which is really a very sweet attraction for the devotees. It may take many lifetimes. It's not an easy thing. We have to be patient, pray on a daily basis, and not to forget these things. And then be on the right path. So this is there's a very beautiful verse here, because it sort of sets the mood, like an introduction in this verse, how to actually receive these pastimes, Krishna's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's childhood pastimes. So we can remember him, smaranam, shravanam, chanting of the holy names, kirtanam, smaranam, remembrance. So we remember him, which is a very important part of devotional service, the most important, chanting, hearing, and remembrance. Everything else comes from there. Service, archanam, padasevanam, atmanivedam, all these limbs of the 9 limbs of devotional service are manifesting gradually. So we desire, when you chant, when you hear about Krishna, your desire to serve him will come too. So they're all connected to each other. And so this is what I can say about this verse. Any questions or comments? Thank you. Thank you.
Much blessed.
Yeah, beautiful. Often it's so actually very inspiring for me, this verse. Every time I read, or not just in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada calls this verse here and there. He said, just we remember Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna himself, and that all our personal difficulties also diminishing gradually. See, even most difficult things, what we think, according to our material calculations, see, Krishna can remove all that obstacles. On the other hand, if you forget him, then things become difficult. Even simple things become so difficult.
Shows how merciful.
Yeah, amazing. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is so merciful. We're very fortunate to have this mission, because we can take shelter. Participating and joining this mission means taking shelter of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the supreme protector, the best friend and well-wisher of all living entities. So here we are in the association of devotees. We have only one single focus, is Krishna. So we work together, serve together. And the symptoms, you'll know later, is joy and happiness and satisfaction, because we actually feel very satisfied serving Krishna. So this is a very, very attractive proposal. In the material world, false claims, illusions, and everyone claims, advertises, you'll be happy this way, that way. But ultimately, you cannot buy happiness. You have to actually realize what happiness is in the first place. So you have to actually, and this is it. Happiness is from the platform of the soul and devotional service. So this is what Srila Prabhupada also says, that modern scientists are completely distracted because they're not wanting to remember Krishna, rather focus on the material, illusory civilization. And that's what they have. They're very intelligent for that. They get the intelligence for that. Super intelligent. but ultimately they're not intelligent because it's all temporary, it's all based on illusions. So their intelligence taken away by Maya. On the other hand, when we come to Krishna, the real intelligence comes, buddhi. This is called buddhi yoga actually, the yoga of true intelligence. So we become truly intelligent when we take shelter of Krishna. More we remember Krishna, and more we chant His holy names, more Krishna conscious we are. Even as, we, on a daily basis, more you chant, more Krishna conscious you are. Less you chant, less Krishna conscious you are. So it's a simple formula we have to remember. More you remember Caitanya Mahaprabhu, and more you are inspired. Yes, Lord Krishna.
If you were chanting in your mind compared to actually chanting out loud, would that give you more or less?
The process is that we chant the vibration, sound vibration, so we can hear. The hearing, this sense is very important, especially the right ear. But when you hear, because it resonates. It's a very spiritual vibration here, sacred sound, transcendental position of Krishna's name, holy name, not different from Him. The holy name is Krishna in that resonance, sacred sound, in that mantra. We call it a Maha Mantra, the greatest, the king of mantras. So when you say Krishna, Krishna, Krishna is there. So we need to hear. On the other hand, like we call manasa worship in the mind, that is also effective, but out of the two we have to hear, especially on our, we call sadhaka, practitioner, we're practicing, so we need to hear the holy name. On a very, very advanced level, it's a different story, because you always remembering Krishna. For us, we need to control the mind, we need to purify the mind, we purify our existence, and that's how we can actually succeed. Hare Krishna. Shri Caitanya here?
Just a very quick point on that question. Sure, I heard that back from the same question. Haridas Thakur was one of our great spiritual masters. And he said if you chant partly to yourself, you benefit. If you chant loudly, anyone benefits.
Yeah, that's
all trees, the insects.
everyone, yes.
So everyone gets it. But that's why the Buddha got streets to chant loud. Has everybody back.
Yeah, that's very important for, Actually, Rupa Goswami even, I think I was reading Srila Prabhupada mentioned in a lecture, and Rupa Goswami, in some of his writings, Rupa Goswami, one of the great Goswamis, he says that he was wishing for thank you. So numerous ears and tongues, so you can vibrate the holy name even more so. So it's, a devotee can be, this is the only greed we can have, greedy for the holy name. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, thank you. Hare Bol.